everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. And before we dive into today's episode, which is discussing all things Real Housewives of Miami Season 6, we are going to get into it. We're going to talk about all of the girls, all of the stories and the shade and the rumors. And I have a question. Do you think the show is getting flat? Or are things just heating up? So before we dive in, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. Also, I'm a little under the weather, so if my voice is a little gravelly or if I'm low energy, that's why. But I still wanted to come on and hang out with my candy canes and talk all things Real Housewives of Miami. So with that, let's go. So I think the first thing we have to say about this season is that Larsa is pure evil. I mean, legitimately pure evil. I'm just super confused as to how a person like her can walk the earth and feel good about themselves. The fact that she made Gertie's cancer diagnosis all about herself is alarming and very scary. The fact that she then went around trying to malign Gertie's name is very disgusting and very scary. And I'll get more into it when we get to Larsa's slide, but it's just very alarming. And I was very confused as to why Larsa was at Garcelle's screening of, I think it was like the Girl Gone, like the missing Lifetime movie that Garcelle starred in and produced. Like Larsa was there. I was like, girl, bye. Please have several seats, okay? Like, just stop it. She's disgusting. She's a liar. And I have a lot to say about her when we get to that slide. Now, to talk about the season overall, I love that each woman has something going on in their own life. And I think that's what makes the show really interesting. It's not so much like other franchises where we have groups of women who are just attacking one person, and attacking the one person is their entire storyline and personality. And I think that's why I like Miami, is because each woman has something unique going on in their life, whether it's their personality or whether it's their storyline. Each woman brings something that they have going on to the series. And the series isn't about just targeting and taking down and targeting one particular person. And I think that's what makes it so refreshing. But that also brings me to my question of, it's good, but is it getting flat? Is it sort of more of the same? Or do you think, no, it's really heating up and it's good, and this is more of the vibe and the tempo that we need with the Housewives? I think it's a bigger conversation for a different video, but is Housewives in general a dying franchise, a dying concept? You know, is the Housewives still what it used to be? Or I think a better question is the Housewives what it could be? You know, so that's just something to think about and noodle on. Maybe we'll do a whole different video on just thinking about, you know, what is the trajectory of the Housewives? Is it still a sustainable TV show model the way it is now? But let's move on to talking about all of the girls. So let's go on to Gertie. Hey, Gertie girl. So to me, Gertie is being so vulnerable and open and honest, and she's taking accountability for all of her reactions. You know, she knows she can be a bit reactionary. She can be loud, but I think that's just a part of her personality, of who she is. And she owns it. She's like, hey, listen, this is me. This is just how I am, like, whatever. And she also has every single right to be pissed at Larsa. You know, if it was me, Larsa, I would throw her across the room. Like, I don't even know what, she has every single right to double down and double down and double down again on not being friends with Larsa, paying Larsa dust, and calling her out every single turn she can get. Gertie was just on Watch What Happens Live, and I love that she still had the smoke for Larsa, which shows that she didn't just sort of cave and give in to Larsa and sort of kiss Larsa's butt the way Larsa expects every person to. She still has that energy for her, and I appreciate that, because sometimes we see this dynamic happens with the Housewives, where one housewife who is kind of a bully and thinks she's better than everybody does something wrong, and she just expects everybody to kiss their ring. And then all of a sudden, we're all up in arms wanting to defend the housewife that got wronged. And then by the time BravoCon runs around, or the after show, or Watch What Happens Live, they're all kissing and kumbaya like nothing happened. And we're like, wait a minute, what the hell? This housewife just did you dirty, and now all of a sudden you're refollowing her on Instagram? What happened? I'm looking at you, Salt Lake City. I'm looking at you, everybody who refollowed Monica. I'm looking at you, okay? So it's nice that Gertie is maintaining that energy of, I'm not backing down. You did me dirty, point blank, period. I have nothing to apologize for. I have nothing to say to back down about. You are the one who is wrong, point blank, period. So I love that, right? I absolutely love that. I love that she's sharing her cancer journey, so that it can be an inspiration to other people, whether it's other people who have been diagnosed with cancers themselves, and they're going through it. And maybe they find strength in seeing somebody on television that is going through the same life experience. And then also even like Julia and Martina, and then Russell, people who are caretakers of people who are, diagnosed with cancer. It's also good to see them represented. What does it look like to be someone who is taking care of someone that they love who has this diagnosis? Sometimes we forget about the caretaker in all of this, and it takes a lot to be a caretaker of someone who is sick. It really, really does. So I think it's great that they're showing that representation on screen, and we get all sides of it. We get Julia, who's supporting Martina. We get Gertie, who has the diagnosis, and then Russell, who's supporting her, and then Martina, who has the diagnosis. And then I love how Gertie and Martina are supporting each other, and I love how Julia and Russell are supporting each other. I just love that whole dynamic, how they've really come together. And I wish it wasn't over cancer, but we can't control certain things, but at least they're coming together to support each other. And that I love. And that part I do love. I also wanted to say chef's kiss to Gertie and Russell for the way they handled the conversation around sharing the news that Gertie had cancer with her children. And this, I think, should be a really great example for how reality stars deal with breaking traumatic news to their children or having difficult conversations with their children. I loved that they broke the news to their children off camera. To me, that's a great way to protect your children. But then they had the teachable moment, whatever you want to call it, conversation on camera about how their children responded and what happened with their children. I think this is a great way to sort of split the difference between sharing those intimate moments with your family and your children because you're on a reality show about your life, but yet still protecting and honoring your children's privacy and how it might affect them. Because we've seen on these shows, these moms and dads are talking to their kids about having sex and their boobs coming in and, losing all of their money. And and we also see the reality stars who treat their children like they're adults. I'm looking at you, Teresa. You treated Gia like she was your good girlfriend her entire life, never like she was your daughter. So we've seen that a lot too, where children are treated as adults. I'm looking at you, Erica Jane, So I think it's really great that they are sharing how they're having these difficult conversations with their children, but yet they're protecting their children by not doing it on camera. And I think a lot of the housewives can sort of take a note from that. It's okay to share what's going on in your life, but also be mindful of how is this going to affect my child? Because this day and age, everybody has the internet. People are going to school, whether they go to school or not. There's internet bullying. There's this, that, and third. So I say chef's kiss to how they handled that conversation, right? Okay. Now, I talked about love, that she's not backing down to Larsa and just giving her a pass. And then loved watching her growing friendship with Julia and Martina. Perfect. All right. Now let's move on to Larsa, the lying snake, liar, gross, person. Okay. So Larsa asking Gertie how she knew she had breast cancer is disgusting. It's like asking somebody, well, how do you know the sky is blue? How do you know grass is green? Like, you just freaking, like, girl, come on. She's not saying she has breast cancer without actually knowing or without having a diagnosis. To me, that was absolutely disgusting. And then what took her evilness to another level, and shout out to Dr. Nicole, and we'll get to more on her slide, calling Dr. Nicole and be like, oh, do you think she's faking it? Who fakes cancer other than Brooks from Real Housewives of the OC? And he is nothing but a con man, snake oil salesman. You know what I'm saying? Like, to act like Gertie is lying and faking cancer is absolutely disgusting. Just because everything in your body, in your life is fake doesn't mean that Gertie's faking cancer. And to even utter that out loud is diabolical and disgusting. Very, very sick, very, very psycho. And then she kept making it about herself, and she wouldn't let Gertie talk. Like, even when they went to the brunch together, she didn't let Gertie talk. She kept interrupting. Well, you can't cry. Don't make this about you. What's wrong with you? She kept interrupting her. So of course, Gertie didn't, like, just like she said, she's like, you didn't make a safe space for me. You're interrupting me, and then you're trying to police my emotions while I'm trying to talk to you and tell you what's going on. Like, you're not even letting me talk. And then even when in other social settings, she's like, why are you so angry, Gertie? Why are you so angry? And then Gertie would start to talk, and then she'd be like, oh, whatever. Like, she kept interrupting Gertie, and then she kept being very dismissive of her. Why? Because you don't want to get called out. And then she was already minimizing her cancer before she even asked Dr. Nicole if it was real. She's like, oh, it's nothing. It's just going to be like an incision. You, first of all, it's not your place to put a judgment call on the severity of somebody else's cancer diagnosis in their life. Like, that is just disgusting. And you were already diminishing and dismissing her. You know, you're acting like she's not a human being. You're being very dismissive of a human being. And not just a human being, but somebody that you pretended to be friends with. And I do mean pretended, because you're not friends with Gertie. You never liked Gertie, and you were never her friend. And that's very evident with how you're treating her right now. Crazy. Crazy. And then when Larsa was going around telling everybody about Gertie's cancer diagnosis, she wasn't doing it from a good place. She was doing it because she thought that the other girls were going to join in on clowning Gertie the way she was. She was like, oh, we're just at brunch, and she's talking, and all of a sudden she goes, I have breast cancer. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, what? You're going to have to be there for her. You have to love her on her. And she looked so confused because Larsa thought the girls were going to be like, oh my God, that's so weird. Why would she say that? Why did she wait? Are you sure she really has it? What are you talking about? Oh, Gertie's crazy. Like, she thought that the people she was spilling the news to, her two friends, and then Lisa and Marisol and Alexia, she thought that they were going to join in and clown Gertie with her. But they all were very like normal human beings, and was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Is she okay? We're going to have to support her. So you weren't coming from a good place. You were trying to clown her the same way you were trying to clown her a couple episodes ago at Maricel's gay brunch. Remember, she was there being like, oh my God, Gertie was crying at the party and she's going all nuts, blah, blah, blah. And the guy at the table, who I don't even think knew Gertie, was like, well, maybe you should give her the benefit of the doubt that maybe she's going through something. And Larsa was like, oh, yeah, whatever. Because she was thinking that, again, everybody was going to join in and clown Gertie, when everybody's response, except for Larsa, has been, maybe Gertie's going through something. Maybe you need to talk to her. I can't believe she has breast cancer. We need to be there to support her and love on her. That has been everybody's response, because everybody else is normal. Except for you, Larsa. It wasn't coming from a good place. You were trash talking her about her cancer diagnosis, and you thought the girls were going to join in, and you messed around and you found out when they didn't. Like, please. Please. Like, I don't think anybody's buying. Like, I said it so the girls could support you. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And also, let's just play devil's advocate, because I got some time tonight. Let's just say you play devil's advocate. Let's say I was an idiot and I actually believed you, Larsa, that you were coming from a good place. Then your response, if you're coming from a good place, is, I am so sorry. That was not my intention. I see how much I hurt and betrayed you. I apologize. What can I do to earn your trust back? That is the response of someone who actually has good intentions and realizes that their intentions is not in alignment with the person that they're trying to allegedly help. But to double down, to defend your position, to gaslight the person, to try to get other people to be your flying monkeys to go against this person, all signs point to you were not trying to be there for her. Because any way you slice it, you're still making it about you. You're still trying to discredit her, and you're still trying to get people on your side to go against her. I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose, but to me, that sounds like a narcissist, a sociopath, a psychopath. I don't know the words, but it sounds like that's what you are. Again, I'm not diagnosing. I'm just observing your behavior. You know, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yuck. Speaking of crazy and fake, can we talk about Larsa and this fake relationship with Michael Jordan's son? I know his name is Marcus, but I just like to call him Michael Jordan's son. It is so fake. It is so fake. And I'm so tired of this codependent narrative of like, oh my God, I want to have a, welcome back party after 5 days. He has to come to every event with me. We have sex 4 times. And like, girl, bye. The codependent relationship is so corny to me. And are you doing this because of the cheating rumors? Like, you guys just Google, like, use the Googler. There's already rumors that Michael Jordan's son has been actively cheating on Larsa. Do I believe them in my personal opinion? Allegedly, yeah. I don't think he's really trying to wife her. I don't think he's really, committed to her. I think he's having fun with her. I think he likes being on the show. I think he has daddy issues. I think to me, he sounds like a guy who's always felt, and I get it, when your father is Michael Jordan, I get it. I think he has daddy issues. I think a part of him has always felt less than, inadequate, never, as good as his father. Maybe people compare and he doesn't measure up. And I think he's also Peter Pan. He's a guy with all the means in the world. He doesn't have to grow up. He's having fun. He's having his 15 minutes on the show. Larsa is all over him. It's a little bit of an ego boost. And it's him working out his daddy issues. I'm sleeping with, daddy's best friend's ex-wife, because Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen are very close friends. Very close friends. Again, just Google it. You see them hanging out together. You see them talking. They play together. Like, all of that. I think Michael Jordan's son has some daddy issues. He probably needs to go to therapy and work out. I don't think this is a real relationship. Is anybody listening to their podcast? I'm not. Who cares? Like, I'm going to take any advice from Larsa and Michael Jordan's son. Get the hell out of here. Like, come on now. Come on. It's too much. It's over the top and it's way too much. And again, Larsa is so jealous. She even had to shade Julia singing. Did you low-key notice in the car when she was like pretending to opera sing? She's like, I can do this. It's easy. Let's start a band. No, you're not being cheeky. You're not being fun. You're not having a kiki. You're throwing shade because you can't handle anyone having like a sliver of attention that you don't get. It's really sick and it's really sad to watch. Really sick and really sad to watch. Do you know what I mean? This may be an popular opinion. I don't know. But I think just like the Kardashians, Larsa doesn't like Black women. That's what I'll say. And I'm not making it about race, but I don't think she likes Black women, just like the Kardashians don't. They use Black women as props. They always have like their Black best friends, to give them sort of like buy-in to them appropriating Black culture. And just because you have sex with Black men, just because you have Black children, does not mean that you like Black women. To be honest with you, it usually means that you don't like Black women when you make it your personality type. That's for a whole nother video, but the Kardashians appropriating Black culture without respecting the Black women who created it, the Kardashians and the Jenners, is very, very well documented. And don't forget, she used to want to be a Kardashian. But think about how she treats Kiki and Gertie versus the way she treats the other ladies. Yes, she has beefs with, she used to have a beef with Dr. Nicole. Yes, she's had beef with other girls on the show. But to me, the way she is dismissive of Kiki and Gertie, it cuts a little bit different. It's very similar to like the way Dorit treats Garcelle on Beverly Hills. You know what I mean? Like, Dorit can beef with other girls, but it's the tone. It's the dismissiveness. It's the like, you're beneath me energy that I don't like. And she treats Kiki and Gertie that way, So I think there's some of that going on here. It's really disgusting. And Larsa, miss me with all this, go back to your original face, or maybe not body shaming, but you look very, very different. And that's okay. Everybody's allowed to change, nip and tuck themselves as they want to. It's not for me to say how somebody looks, you know, because I'm going to look the way I want to look and people can look the way they want to look. But girl, bye. Girl, bye, girl, bye, girl, bye. All right, let's move on to Lisa. Now, this might be an unpopular, popular opinion. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. But I think that Lisa and Lenny are both toxic as hell. I think they both enjoy torturing each other. By default, I am Team Lisa. But if I'm being honest with you, I think Lisa and Lenny both love going at it. I think they get off on it. I think they get off on fighting. I think they get off being in the public eye. I think they get off going at each other. I think they get off on how toxic their relationship is. I think she is just as toxic as he is. And I think that he might be a little worse, but I think she likes participating in it because I think to her, I think she has an unhealthy mindset of any attention is better than no attention. So I think that she would rather have his negative attention than not having his attention at all. And again, I'm not a doctor, I don't diagnose, but I think Lenny, again, has a very same egomania, you know, small penis syndrome, you know, very controlling, very narcissistic. Again, I'm not a doctor, I'm just going by observation here. And to me, it just seems like he's very controlling and demeaning. And they've always sort of had this unhealthy power dynamic. And I think that she thinks that that is love when it's not. It's really just an unhealthy attachment to him. And I think that it's almost like an addiction. Like when people are in abusive and unhealthy relationships, whether that abuse is physical, mental, emotional, financial, the toxicity of the unhealthy relationship becomes an addiction. You know, you have the highs, you have the lows, you have the wanting to get them back, the wanting them to get you back, then you have the honeymoon period, then you have the falling out again. And I think Lisa and Lenny are both just as dysfunctional as the other is. And I think all of things that are going on, I think they both get off on it. And I think the true victims in this situation are the children, because they are the ones that are growing up in the dysfunction. And I hope they don't grow up to repeat the dysfunction. I hope they get some help. But I think the true victims in this are the children. You know what I mean? Because I think Lisa and Lenny get off on it. I think this is all a game to them. I think at the end of the day, they're going to end up back together. That's what I think. I mean, maybe, maybe not. But I think they get off on it. Kate says, I don't like how Lisa treats her son. I agree with you, Kate. I think that's a really good observation. I was going to put that on here, so thank you for bringing that up. I don't like how, and again, I'm not a parent. I want to make that clear. So I'm not trying to go against anybody's parenting style, but if you're on a reality show and you show your children, then we are allowed to have an opinion on it. My opinion is I agree with Kate. I don't like the way she treats her son or her daughter. I thought it was very alarming how I think it was the son who was like, oh, it's a cheat day. And I was like, oh, if your children are already saying it's a cheat day and counting calories and learning that there's bad food and good food, which isn't true. There's no such thing as bad food. There's no such thing as good food. It's the proportion and the moderation and the way in which it's in the relationship you have to food. Like pizza isn't bad food. Maybe eating an entire pizza is an unhealthy relationship to food, but pizza itself isn't bad, right? And so it's very scary and very alarming that her children are already mimicking a very unhealthy relationship to body, self-esteem, worthiness, and food. You know, if your child is like, it's a cheat day, that's a red flag. No child should be thinking that. And then the way that she was like, stop eating, or you can't have this, you can't have this, and you can't have that. I mean, she's a very, very frail, thin person. She may have her personal issues with her body and her self-esteem and her relationship to food. And it's really sad that it seems like she is passing down that dysfunction and that disordered eating and that unhealthy relationship to self and food to her children. And that, to me, I agree. And it's very weird and bizarre. I also think it's weird and unhealthy how both Lisa and Lenny view and use their children as pawns rather than thinking about what is the best thing for the children. I think both of them think, how can I use my children to hurt the other person? And, again, I'm not a parent, and I've never been married, but they have that saying, when you get divorced, you have to love your children more than you hate your ex. And I think that's something that they both could learn. You really have to love your children more than you want to get revenge on the other person. You have to love your children more than you want to be spiteful or win or beat or hurt your ex. Because right now the children are clearly being used as pawns. And that's really scary, and that's really sad. And I think that both Lisa and Lainey participate in that toxicity and dysfunction and maybe violence. I know that there's like lawsuits going on. She said he was physically violent. He's suing her for defamation. There's all that going on. Don't come after me for defamation, Lenny. I'm not saying this is true. I'm repeating what is already out there in the public domain. Okay. So don't come at me. I'm not making this up. So I think they both participated. I will say what I loved about Lisa was I loved the real estate eye candy when she was looking for condos in Miami. I was like, oh my God, take me with you. These condos are everything. They were so cute and fun. I think that they were good for, like hot girl summer. Like they just looked really, really cute. So I did like that beat in that moment. Now Larsa and Marcus and Jody and I'm so surprised that Jody is still with her because every other word out of her mouth is Lenny, Lenny, Lenny. But I'm like, I don't think Jody really cares. There's also rumors out there that he basically ditched his fiance for Lisa. So he might be a cheater too. Of course, he's out here being like, no, I met her after. The math ain't mathin', homie. I don't know how you have a full fiance, a full wedding website, fully getting married, and then all of a sudden you drop your fiance and you are in a full-fledged relationship with Lisa, and you want to look me in my face and tell me there's no overlap? We're not stupid, boo-boo. We're not. Again, this is just my opinion, but I think logic usually dictates, particularly men, and I don't mean to be sexist, I'm just talking about patterns of human behavior. Usually men do not leave relationships until they have another woman lined up or multiple women lined up. And usually that has started prior to them leaving the person that they're with. Either they are actively cheating or they have been emotionally cheating and they have someone on deck. That's just usually how men work before they leave a relationship. Women, on the other hand, we usually get emotionally and mentally checked out way before we actually leave it. Not necessarily we're cheating or there's another quote person. We just have mentally checked all the way out before we actually leave the relationship. And then usually the man is so confused. What happened? And you're like, I don't know. For the last year, I've been telling you I need X, Y, and Z. I need X, Y, and Z. I need X, Y, and Z. And you didn't listen. And then all of a sudden, I stopped talking about X, Y, and Z because I was already mentally checked out and got everything in order to leave you. That's usually how it goes. Obviously, not every situation, but typically that's how it goes. So, Jody, you're not going to look at me and tell me that you miraculously left your fiance who you full on was about to get married to. And then the next day, God just happened to bring Lisa along your way and you just happened to jump into a serious relationship. Boy, bye. Miss me with all that. Jody's a little weird to me. I don't know what it is. He just seems off a little bit. I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to say what I think is going on with Jody because I'm not a doctor and I don't diagnose, and I don't want to, obviously it would never be intentional, but I don't even want to be unintentional to certain groups but I have my opinion on what's going on with Gertie, and I'll just leave it at that. And it has nothing to do with his sexuality. Let me put that out there. I am not talking about his sexuality. I'm talking about something else. So that's kind of where I land on that. Now, it's also been out there that, Jody, Larsa, and Marcus have been partying until 4 a.m. at Art Basel in Miami. Now, I have a question for you guys because I don't know how I land on this. So I want to know what you guys think, okay? Do you think that at this particular stage in Lisa and Larsa's lives, is partying until 4 a.m. at Art Basel, is it a vibe or is it thirsty and a little desperate and sad? I don't know how I don't know how I land on this because there's a part of me that's like, ladies, you need to have several seats. Like, I hope when I get to where you are in life, the last thing I want to be doing is being up in the club at 4 a.m. Like, to me, that just seems wackadoodle. Maybe like once a year for like a big milestone birthday or, somebody's bachelorette party or, everybody's going on vacation and it's, whatever. But like just to be up in the club at 4 a.m., like with the 20 years olds at this point in your life, seems a little thirsty and desperate. But then on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? Age ain't nothing but a number. Dip it and do it. If you have the energy, if you want to vibe out, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You got your girls, you got your man. Vibe out in the club. Do you? It doesn't matter. Do you? If you want to go out there and dip it and do it, and you want to hang out with a 20 years old, who am I to stop you? So I'm kind of split on that. I don't know how I feel. I think it's that I just think in general, Lisa and Larsa are very thirsty, desperate chicks. Like, let's just call it a thing. Larsa is as thirsty as they come. And Lisa is her little Blvd right there with her. So I think it has less to do with age, now that I'm talking it out with you guys, and more to do with just them in particular. I just find both of them to be very desperate and thirsty. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of where I laughed. That's kind of where I land on it. Yeah, I guess it has nothing to do with age. I just think both of them are thirsty as hell. All right. Now let's move on to Julia. So this season, I'm loving Julia's fun energy. I think she's really light. I think she's bubbly. I think she's a vibe. I think Martina's cancer diagnosis changed her. Like she said, she's saying yes to life and all of that. I'm loving her vibe. I think she's fun. I think she's a moment. I'm here for it. She was super sweet for the party she threw for Martina and singing opera for her. I mean, that's massive, having the courage to do that in front of everybody and work so hard on it. I love it. I love it. I think that is so, so, so sweet. And then Martina and Julia seem to be in a better place because I do think that prior to Martina's diagnosis, I think they were heading for divorce court. They were living two separate lives. There was a lot of resentment between them, a lot of bitterness between them. I did not buy the fact that they were going to adopt a child for 1 iota of a second. To me, that was the fakest storyline of all freaking time. Martina was living her life. Julia was living her life on the farm. They weren't having sex. They weren't seeing each other. All signs point to either one of two things. You get separated and divorced, or you just say, cheaper to keep her, we'll stay married, but you live your life and I'll live mine, which a lot of couples do. A lot of couples get to the point where they're like, listen, I don't want to be with you. You don't want to be with me. But divorce can be messy, particularly if you have money or assets, whatever the case is. You do you and I'll do me and kumbaya. And a lot of couples do that. Sorry, I'm drinking some tea because I'm a little under the weather. So I think that's where they're headed. And, unfortunately, it took cancer because, again, I don't ever want to be like, oh, thank God for cancer. Absolutely not. But sometimes when we are faced with our own mortality or the mortality of people that we love, those moments really put into perspective what's important. Is what we're fighting about actually important? Or is finding our way back to ourselves important? And sometimes that goes either way. Like, for example, in Beverly Hills with Kyle, I think the death of her friend may have said, hey, wait a minute, I have been pretending for a very long time. And so instead of it bringing it closer to my partner, it's actually brought me further away, right? Whereas where I think with Julia and Martina, it brought them closer. Now, let's get into the conversation around Alexia and Todd and Julia and Roomgate, okay? And Roomgate. So as we know, Julia wanted to room with Alexia because they're becoming new friends. They're having so much fun. They're shopping. It's a whole moment. It's an entire vibe, right? And then Julia asks Alexia multiple times, oh, are we going to room together? Let's room together, right? I forgot to put it on the slide, but I'll say it when we get to that point. I have two things around Alexia's response when she's like, oh, well, I have to ask Todd, right? So I have two things around that. The first one is, do we think that was just Alexia using I have to ask Todd as an excuse to not room with Julia? Because that could be it too. Because just because Alexia likes Julia and they're becoming friends doesn't mean Alexia wants to room with Julia. So we don't know if that was just an excuse, because sometimes it's like, oh, girl, do you want to go out to the club tonight? Oh, I got to see what my boyfriend's doing. Or, oh, I got to see if my boss needs me to come in early. It's like a polite way to decline somebody's invitation without saying, I don't want to go out with you, or I don't want to room with you. Like, I like you, but I don't want to share a room with you. So to me, that could be one explanation, just like she's using Todd as an excuse because she doesn't want to hurt her feelings, that she just doesn't want to share a room with her. Or on the other hand, let's talk about how Julia took it. So Julia kind of took it like, oh, you don't want to room with me because I'm a lesbian. And are you saying that lesbians can't control themselves, that gay people can't control their sexual urges? Is that why you keep saying you have to ask Todd? And she felt some type of way about it. And then, as we know, Adriana was like, yeah, that's so weird. I get naked in front of you and you've seen me this and you've seen me that, and it's totally fine. And we're still friends and blah, blah, blah. When it comes to that conversation, I'm talking about the Adriana and Julia one. There's levels to that, because there are certain friends that I 100% would be totally fine getting naked in front of if we're like changing for something. And then I have other friends where I would not feel comfortable getting naked in front of them. So you can't say just because this is the friendship that you and I have, that the boundaries are the same for somebody else's friendship. So to me, that's kind of apples to oranges, because everybody has their own different level. If I'm acquainted with someone or getting to know someone, I'm probably not going to just change in front of them. But if it's my best friend that I've known since childhood, girl, we're going to let it all hang out because who cares, right? So there's different boundaries and different levels with different people and friendships. So you can't say, because you do this with me, it should be cool for you to do this with everyone. So there's that one on that part. And then I also thought, well, if Alexia really is saying I have to ask Todd first, is she coming from a place of, oh, gay people can't control themselves sexually? Or is she coming from a place of, you are a human being who has sex with women? Therefore, I'm going to ask my husband, is it okay to share a room with you overnight? Because if Julia was John or James, I'm pretty sure her husband would have a problem with it. So if we really want to get to the space of equal rights and everybody is seen as equals, I don't see how Alexia saying I need to ask my husband if it's okay to have an overnight with you as being homophobic or saying that gay people can't control their sexual urges. I see it more as being respectful to your partner. You know what I'm saying? It's almost more respectful to say, I need to run this by my husband, because what you're saying is, I see your relationship as equal to mine. I'm not just going to say, oh, you're a girl, it's cool. I'm not going to say, oh, you're a lesbian, it doesn't matter. Oh, you're gay, whatever. I'm not going to dismiss or diminish or put your relationship as less than mine simply because you're in a same-sex relationship. I'm actually going to respect that and the dynamics of it, because maybe my husband doesn't feel comfortable with me sharing a room or a bed with any human being that prefers to have sex with women. You know what I mean? It's like you can't slice and dice it. You can't say, I want it to be, and trust me, I'm not a part of the gay community, but I am an ally to them. So this is just my perspective as an ally. Again, I'm not a part of the community, so I don't want to speak for the community. I'm going to be very clear on that. But as a person who I think I hope to be an ally, this is my perspective on it. Okay. Because I want to be as respectful as I can possibly be, and also be very clear on I am not a part of the community. So I'm just giving my personal observation on it. So to me, that's more of what it would be about. Not so much that Alexia and Todd are like, oh my God, Julia, we're so worried that you can't control your sexual urges, that you're going to rip her clothes off. To me, it's more of a respect issue. Like if I'm going out of town with a group of friends and I have a husband or with my partner or whatever, and I'm going to room with a man, I'd probably talk to my partner about it first, or my husband, like, hey, like, is this okay? Like, you know, what's going on? Like, you know, is that okay with you? Whether it was a man or a woman, you know, because I don't think that same-sex relationships are less than opposite sex relationships. I think that they're equal. I think that we should respect them in equal ways. So to me, I didn't think of it as being homophobic. I thought it was more about Alexia wanting to respect her husband, Todd. But even more than that, I thought it was Alexia using Todd as a nice excuse to get out of rooming with Julia because she just didn't want to room with her. That's what I really think it was about. I don't think it had anything to do with homophobia or gay people can't control themselves or I'm worried you're going to want to have sex with me. I think it was honestly just Alexia trying to figure out how to get out of rooming with Julia. Because she kept saying, oh, is that real? Is that decided? Oh, really? Oh, okay, girl. Well, we have to talk to Marisol. We have to talk to Adriana. You know, we have to talk to Todd. Like, I think she was just trying to let her down without hurting her feelings. That's what I really think happened. Okay. Now, I will say that sometimes when people do that, they have the best intentions, but the wires can get crossed because when somebody rejects us in any capacity, because Julia is taking the fact that Alexia is not going to room with her as a rejection. You don't want to room with me. And anytime we feel rejected and we take that rejection personally rather than just as information, that's usually how I take rejection. Someone's like, oh, Candy, I don't want to room with you. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, next. I don't take that personally. You want to room with me? Cool. If you don't, whatever, on to the next. But some people take that stuff personally. And I think Julia did because she actually like really wanted to room with Alexia. She was excited about the budding friendship, right? So she took it personally. And when we take things personally, our mind wants to know, why didn't you choose me? Why wasn't I good enough for you? Because that's what rejection tells us. You weren't good enough. And so I think that's what's going on with Julia's mind. Well, why wasn't I good enough? Oh, you had to talk to Todd? Is it because I'm gay? Like, what's going on? Well, that's not cool. Like, how can I, like, da 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 da. And then your mind creates all of these stories to explain why you're hurt. You know what I mean? And I think that's really more of what's going on here than anything. But I do understand how that rejection can then make you think, well, I don't know how to be friends with her. Like if I laugh with her, if I touch her, if I smile, is she going to take it the wrong way? Because again, your mind is telling you a story of why you got rejected. Because the reason why our mind always tells us stories around our pain is because our mind then wants to be able to protect us from feeling that same pain again. That's how triggers are born. Because your mind tells you a story around a pain or a hurt you had, and the next time you feel that same pain or that same story comes up, your mind says, no, 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 no. You know, fight, flight, react, anger. No, 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 no. Because we've known this story. We felt this pain and we don't want to hurt anymore. Right? That's how triggers become born. That's why her feeling rejected is triggering something in her. Because she's felt, what does it feel like to not be chosen? What does it feel like to not be good enough? And that is what she's feeling right now. So we'll see how that pans out. But I'm loving Julia in general this season. Okay, Adriana. Now, Adriana is also growing on me when she's not hating Alexia's marriage, money, and lifestyle. For me, she's growing on me when she's not doing that. And I do think that she deserves to be a full-time, wait a minute. She deserves to be a full-time housewife at this point. She's basically a part of everybody's mess. She's basically in every scene. I think she deserves to be full-time. You know what I'm saying? She's giving more than, I think she gives more than Lisa gives. Lisa is just running around here, Jody, Lenny on repeat. I think Adriana gives more to the show than Lisa. Lisa, to me, could be a friend of easily. And Adriana should be promoted up. That's what I think. She was 100% correct when she called out Larsa for being selfish and making Gertie's cancer diagnosis about herself. And I loved that she had Gertie's back and didn't back down to Larsa. Like, that's another thing I love about Miami is they don't back down to the mean girl. They stay on Larsa. They don't back down. Whereas on other franchises, they cower and they back down. If it was a Giselle, if it was a Kyle, if it was a Rinna, they would just, kind of like cower to them and back down. And I love that they don't do that on this franchise, that they continuously hold people accountable, right? And then what else? Oh, this is just a pet peeve of mine. Adriana, stop calling it silent luxury. It's called quiet luxury, okay? It's actually my personal aesthetic. So I'm going to need you to get it right. Stop calling it silent luxury, okay? That's just my own personal pet peeve. It's quiet luxury, baby. All right. I think that's all I have for Adriana right now. Wait, what else did I think about her? Oh yeah, I said that I with her and Alexia. I'm also just like tired of that, but I'll get to more on that on Alexia's slide. Okay. Now, let's move on to Dr. Nicole. I'm obsessed with Dr. Nicole. I think she's like so cute and so fun. Like, she's someone who I would like actually like in real life want to be friends with. I'd be like, okay, girl, like let's go hang out. Let's go shopping. Let's get a cocktail. Let's be friends. Like, she's, to me, she's like a really cool person. And she's very fun to watch. And I am obsessed with her ultra rich lifestyle. Like, give me the yachts, give me the private jets, give me the massive homes, give me this endless amount of money that you have that I'm like, where did it come from? Sure, you're a doctor. Sure, he's a lawyer. Sure, family money. Sure, investments. But like, are you a Rothschild? Are you a Hilton? Like, are you a Rockefeller? Like, I'm confused where this money came from. Like, Jeff Bezos' parents bought their house. And Jeff Bezos is probably like what? He's like top third richest man in the world. So where is this money coming from? Where is this money coming from, Dr. Nicole and Dr. Nicole's forever fiance? You know what I'm saying? But I do love her. I really do love her. And I'm here for the lifestyle. I'm here for the money. I'm here for the decadent. I'm here for the luxury, the lavishness of it all day long. I also loved how she had Gertie's back during the Larsa and cancer issue, because don't forget, Larsa crossed Dr. Nicole. Was it last season when Larsa made up the lie? Because I do think Larsa made it up, saying that Dr. Nicole had basically slept her way through the hospital with all the other doctors. Remember, she said that to her? And I think that Dr. Nicole is like me. Like, we never forget. We are effing elephants. Like, you say something to me, like, I will never forget. You know what I mean? Like, I'll make nice, but like, I remember that. And so I think Dr. Nicole will never really be cool with Larsa. I think she knows how to play the game, but I think she'll never be cool with her. And again, like we said before, Larsa thought that she would get all the girls to be flying monkeys for her and to clown Gertie, but to all of the girls' credit, even Lisa's credit, she was trying to hold Larsa down, but she conceded and was just like, yeah, this is messed up. To all the girls' credit, they didn't take the bait and they held Gertie down. So I'm really happy for them. Unlike we see on other franchises. If this situation was on Beverly Hills, and say it was like the full Fox 5, they would have held down, say it was Lisa Rinna who was going after somebody who said they had cancer, or Munchausen's, or whatever it want to be, right? Or whatever it is. They would have held this person down till the cows came home. You know what I'm saying? Knowing full well that they were dead wrong. So I like how this group holds people accountable, and it's not teams. It's what's right and what's wrong. And that's very, very refreshing. You know? And again, I think Dr. Nicole is like, I didn't forget that you tried to say that I slept my way to the top in the doctor's circle. And again, I think that she was just lying, making up stuff. I love seeing the couple's date night with Alexia and Todd and, Dr. Nicole and her husband. One second, I have to have some tea. Sorry, you guys, I'm still a little sick. Okay. So I loved seeing them together. It was so much fun to watch. And I love watching the couples getting along versus having these like weird fake fights and feuds that don't really make any sense. Like I love seeing them go on double dates and the cooking and the hanging out and being like, oh, what's going on with your kids? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? Like I love just seeing them getting along and having fun than throwing shots at each other and feuding and, having these internet wars for no reason that benefits no one. And they all just end up looking like clowns. So I'm really happy that they just sort of like buried that hatchet and they moved on with each other, right? She's pregnant now, which is exciting. So congrats, Dr. Nicole. I don't know if she gets pregnant this season or if she got pregnant off season, but I know that she is pregnant now. Also sad news, her father passed away, which is super sad. And I saw some people being like, see, this is why you need to forgive. And in my mind, I'm like, you can forgive someone and still have healthy boundaries, because being like, oh, people like, you never know when someone's going to die and blah, blah, blah. That's actually a very unhealthy manipulation tactic to allow people to continually do unhealthy things in your life. People will try and guilt you like, oh, you need to forgive me because you never know who's going to die and life is short, blah, blah, blah. You can forgive people, but you can also have healthy boundaries with people. And if someone unfortunately passes away, and I'm not talking particularly about Dr. Nicole and her husband. I just mean in general, based on some comments I saw when people were saying when her father passed away. And it doesn't make you a bad person that you create healthy boundaries with people who are toxic in your life that you just so happen to love. Because you can love someone, you can forgive someone without allowing them to disrupt your peace, whether they are family or friend, stranger or foe. And I think that a lot of times people will weaponize death and things like that in order to manipulate and control someone to allow their unhealthy behavior in their life. So I just wanted to put that out there. But condolences, Dr. Nicole. Now, let's get into some fun Kiki juice. Do we think she will ever get married? I don't. I think she's going to be the forever fiance. Because I kind of think, unless they just get married for the show. But I think for not the show, I don't think he would ever marry her. And when I say that, I don't think it's because he doesn't love her. I just think he isn't a marriage guy. I just don't think he wants to be married, whether it was Dr. Nicole or a superstar. I personally think Dr. Nicole is a superstar. I love her. But I just don't think he's into marriage. And that's okay, because not everybody wants to be married. But I think that if they were going to get married, they would have already done it by now. And I think that they used, let's focus on having a baby. I think at least he used that as a way to bide more time. And I think he proposed as a shut up ring, and because of the public pressure. Once they're on the show and everybody's like, well, why aren't you engaged? Why aren't you getting married? You have homes together. You have a child together. You've been together all this time, blah, 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 blah. And I think that, and again, this is my opinion. I think she wants to be married, and she puts up a good front of like, oh, it's okay. It doesn't matter. See, a paper doesn't matter. Lisa's going through it and she's married and you just never know and blah, blah, blah. I think she does want to be married. And I think that she's willing to stay in denial with herself and make excuses with herself because she loves him. And I think that he loves her, but I don't think he wants to be married to anyone. And there are people who don't want to be married. There are people who don't want to be married and they want to be single. And there are people who want to be in loving, monogamous relationships with children without getting married. One of my best friends, one of my closest guy friends, is like that. He doesn't want to be married. He's with his long-term girlfriend. They are going to have kids and everything like that, but he just doesn't want to be married. And there are a lot of people like that. And I think the trick is, in order to have sustainable happiness, where there doesn't become bitterness or resentment, is you need to, because I don't think that there's only one person in this world for you. I think we have multiple soulmates. You need to find someone who is authentically aligned with your standards and your values and your expectations of your life and your lifestyle. Authentically aligned. Because I do think that Dr. Nicole and her fiance, I forget his name, love each other, but I don't think they are authentically aligned when it comes to marriage. I think she wants to be married, and I think he doesn't. And that's why you need to be very careful, and you need to find someone who has the same standards, values, and vision for life that you have. Because if you don't, you will find yourself, I don't care how happy you think you are, resentment will come. Bitterness will come. Because you are always going to think in the back of your mind, I gave up this for you. Why aren't you giving up A, B, C, D, E, F, G, X, Y, Z for me? I gave up being a wife for you, right? I gave up being married for you. Why can't you do this for me? That resentment will come in. Unless you authentically make peace in a genuine, authentic way with, you know what? This isn't a sacrifice for me. It's a compromise. But as long as you feel like you are sacrificing, you will have resentment and bitterness. That's just basic healthy relationship 101 type situation. Because you should compromise in relationships. But if you are sacrificing in it, that is when you will get bitterness and resentment. And that will poison your love and your happiness and your joy. So it is my hope that one of them authentically changes. Either he wakes up one day and is like, you know what? I actually do want to be married. Or I hope she wakes up one day and says, you know what? I'm actually okay with compromising not being married. I no longer see it as a sacrifice. Because if he does marry her and he doesn't really want to be married, he's going to make her life hell, because he will also be resentful and bitter. Look what I gave up for you. Look what I did for you. Why is this not enough for you? Because then he sacrificed how he authentically wanted to live. That's why you have to be really, really clear, particularly before you have children with somebody, that you really are aligned. Truly aligned and truly compatible with that person. Because right now, I think that she is sacrificing not being married in order to, quote, keep him. That's just what I think. And they're using the excuse of a second baby. Because people have shotgun weddings every single day. They have all the money in the world. They could have easily put together a wedding before she got pregnant again. Easily. With all that cash they have, all that money they have, people with way less money and means put weddings together. Hell, people go down to the courthouse and get married. You know what I'm saying? People literally go down to the courthouse and get married. It's not even about money, because they want to be married. But I don't think he does. All right. Now let's see. Let's go on. All right. Now let's talk about Alexia. Now, Alexia, Todd showing up at Larsa's party but didn't show up to Alexia's party. That only had to do, it had nothing to do with Adriana, that she was just used as an scapegoat. He was sending a message to Alexia by not going to her party. I don't think it had anything to do with her guest list. I don't think it had anything to do with Adriana. I don't think it had anything to do with Dr. Nicole and her husband, because they had their little beef. I think that was a direct message to his wife. Because at the end of the day, if you and your wife are in a good place, I don't care who she invited to that party. You would be there at least to show face, to be a united front with your wife and to support her. Even if it was just, oh, hey guys, I have to do a toast, but you know what? I have a business meeting. I couldn't move, but I wanted to just come and like break bread and have a good, a champagne toast with you guys. Enjoy. Kiss, kiss, Alexia. I'll be back in a little bit. If you're in a good place with your wife and you don't like the people she invited, you do a united front to show face for her. But to not show up at all, in fact, to hide out in your building's gym, that is a direct message to your wife that I am pissed at you, and this is how I'm going to punish you for being pissed. It had nothing to do with anybody else. To me, that's just a lie and a scapegoat and whatever it is. I don't know what happened between them, but that was a direct, I am going to punish you because she either did or said something that he did not like. And this was his way of punishing her. And then later on, when they went to Larsa's and Michael Jordan's son's party, he felt embarrassed, which is why he was like, okay, I know you guys are wondering why I'm here, but I wasn't at Alexia's party. It was because of the guest list and people disrespecting my stepson online. Todd, you don't like your own stepchildren. Don't fake the funk. You might like Frankie, but you don't like Peter because Peter is a deadbeat. So don't act like you're up in arms because people are disrespecting Peter online. Peter disrespects himself every day with how he treats people. So come on now. And you weren't mad at Adriana. In fact, you confided in her that the reason why you weren't there was because of issues in your own marriage. Lisa heard it and Adriana heard it. And that's the only thing that makes sense as to why you would not show face at your own house for your wife. So I definitely think there's trouble in paradise there. Now, there have been rumors about physical abuse. That is a huge accusation. I'm not saying I agree with this, and I hope that rumor is wrong. But since there's speculation out there, I thought it would be remiss of me not to bring it up because that speculation is out there. There's like blind items about it and all of this stuff. There's Reddit threads. I don't know. I hope it's not true. I'm not landing on it on either side because that's a very big accusation to make. Do I think there is tension between them? Yes. Do I think she likes him? No. I don't think she likes Todd anymore. She seems very uncomfortable around him. It feels like Todd gives her the ick. I don't know if he gives her the ick because he is calling her out on her unhealthy dynamic that she has with her sons. And she would rather stay in her dysfunctional relationship with her sons than evolve to be with him. And that's why he now gives her the ick. Or if there's more abuse going on and that's why he gives her the ick. But to me, Todd gives her the ick. Like, look at the way she looks at him. Look at how she tenses up around him. And to me, Todd seems a bit lost, a bit broken, a bit embarrassed. I don't know. He just seems like a very different energetically than he was last season. Last season, he seemed very secure. He seemed very healthy masculine. He seemed very confident. They seemed very much lock in step. But it seems like after they got married, the stuff with her sons, when it got really real, he doesn't seem the same. And she sort of has the ick around him. So do I think there's trouble in paradise? Yes. The core reason why, we may never know what happens behind closed doors. Do you know what I mean? So we'll see. I'm so tired of the Alexia versus Adriana feud. Like, why are they fighting? Bored. Next. I'm just over that one. Like, can they stop? Now, we already kind of touched on this with the whole on Julia's slide about whether it's homophobic about Alexia and Todd. Alexia had been like, oh, I have to ask my husband Todd if it's okay. Again, my gut says that Alexia just didn't want a room with Julia, and she was using that as an excuse to get out of it. That's what my gut says. And even if it wasn't, I still don't think it was coming from a homophobic place. I think it was just more of a well, you are a human being that has sex with women. I am a woman and I'm a married woman. So maybe I need to check with my husband before I share a bed with you, because I respect all human beings equally, all relationships equally, right? And also, they don't have the same relationship dynamic that Adriana has with Julia. Whereas it may be to them completely comfortable and platonic to, hang out and sleep in the same room and do all that. It's a very different dynamic with Alexia and Julia. Also, not to mention this, which I think is very interesting. I think I had it on a slide, but I think I forgot to say it. When Adriana was talking about, I get naked in front of you and it's fine and we're so close. But let's not forget that Martina, in my personal opinion, very rightfully so, was pissed. She felt disrespected and she was jealous and she didn't like it how sexual and how flirty Julia and Adriana were to each other. So if Martina, Julia's wife, herself takes issue with the level of flirtation between Julia and another woman who is her friend, then why would it be homophobic for Alexia to ask her husband, Todd, is it okay to share a room with Julia? Do you know what I mean? Because I agree with Martina. I do think that Adriana crossed lines and Julia crossed lines. This is my wife and another woman is rubbing her feet. Remember? Was it not the first season of Miami, but the first season of the reboot of the refresh? Remember when Adriana was like, or was it Julia? I don't know. I forget what it was. It was either Julia rubbing Adriana's feet and they were all their whole codependent relationship and they were so flirty and they were all up together. And remember, Gertie had Martina's back and was like, yo, I wouldn't want anybody rubbing Russell's feet or whatever she said. And Martina was like, wait, what? So it's not, there are levels to this, same-sex relationship or not. There are boundaries. There's our disrespect. Just because it's two women being naked and rubbing each other's feet doesn't make it any less disrespectful. You know what I mean? So I think that, number one, Adriana kind of doesn't have she should really pipe down talking about the level of intimacy that her and Julia have, when Martina clearly felt very disrespected by it. And I get it. If Martina was Martin, and Adriana was Adam, I'm pretty sure that Martin wouldn't like the fact that his wife is rubbing Adam's feet. You know what I mean? And that his wife and Adam are getting naked together, and that his wife and Adam are blah, 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 blah. And even in friendships, a lot of people have issues with their partner having opposite sex friendships. I'm not like that personally, like just personally speaking, because I think that whether this is this person's friend or not, if someone's going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you. But that's just kind of where I land with it. So Natasha says, who's Adam? Adam is, it was an example, Natashki. So what I was saying was if Martina, who's a woman, was Martin, saying if Julia was married to a man named Martin and she was rubbing Adriana, if Adriana was a man, Adam's feet, it would be pretty inappropriate. So that was just an example I was using. That's all. It was just an example of saying how if the gender roles were reversed, it would so clearly be disrespectful. But I think sometimes those lines get blurred when they're the same sex. But for me, respect is respect, and boundaries are boundaries. And if being overly sexual, overly flirtatious, overly familiar with someone and your spouse or your partner or whoever takes issue with it, to me, it doesn't matter if it's a guy, a girl, trans, whatever. It's just a respect thing in general. And that's where I'm kind of landing on that. But I want to know what you guys think. Okay. Now let's move on to Marisol. Okay, so Marisol's reaction to Gertie's cancer news was so sweet and endearing. She was crying. She's I can't handle this. What's going on? And Marisol's also growing on me this season. I think because she's still a shady vibe, but it's being less messy and pot stirring about it. And I think that's because she's no longer like using Alexia as her mouthpiece to bring these sort of like off-camera rumors to the show. And instead she's just sort of like being a friend and being shady and being funny. So I like Marisol a lot more this season than last season. Last season, I felt like she was really just like, a sniper from the side. But this season, I feel like she's kind of cleaned it up a bit. And so I really am enjoying her. When it comes to Team Marisol or Team Adriana, this is a feud that I'm actually not tired of. Like, I'm here for Marisol versus Adriana. And I gotta tell you, I'm Team Marisol because where Adriana lost me was when she was like, oh, your ex-boyfriend or whoever he was in my DMs and he wanted to be with me. And like, he said he never loved you. Like, whoa, sis. Like, you think you're winning this, but you really just lost it. Like, Marisol is me. I am Marisol in this. You come out your mouth and you say that to me about my ex, you're dead to me. We will never be friends. It's over. I might be cordial if I absolutely have to, but you're dead to me forever and a day. No, thank you. Like, first of all, why were you entertaining her ex in your DMs? That is so whack. And if you are going to do that, say you're just like, you know what? Me and Marisol aren't that close. I don't owe her anything. I'm going to go ahead and DM with her ex, whatever. Say that's her line of thinking. To then throw it in her face and say, and he said that he never loved you. That's where you lost me, Adriana. That's where you lost me. Because even if he did say that, even if you're like, I don't owe this chick anything, why would you throw that in her face? Like, there's levels to it. It's like, yes, you can be catty, you can be in a fight, you can shade, but that's a dart to the heart that you don't need to throw. It's giving like, Beverly Hills Kyle vibes. Oh, you don't eat your food. Oh, how many drinks have you had today? Your boyfriend said he never loved you and he was trying to have sex with me. Because that's basically what Adriana said. She's like, no, he was in my DMs. He was basically, that's what she said. He wanted to sleep with me and he told me he never loved you. And what? And then Adriana turned around and was like, oh, I was being a good friend to you. No, you're dead to me for life. But that's just me. That's just my personality. Like, to thyself be true. Like, I know myself. If any chick, whether I was friends with her or not, had the audacity to say that to me, you're dead to me for life. Like, don't ever even don't eat a candy bar in your life. Don't even say the word candy ever again. Don't even, you can't even celebrate Christmas because there's no more candy canes for you. Like, you're dead to Candy's world forever. Okay. That's kind of where I land on that, but I want to know what you guys think. Like, I think Marisol has every right to never bury that hatchet. All right. Now let's move on to Kiki. So Kiki is the one, she's totally that girl with the sex talk, and I'm living for her hot single girl vibes. Like, I'm here for Kiki. I think she's gorgeous. I love her quirkiness. I love how just raw she is. She's just like, oh yeah, this is what's going on. Like, whatever. Like, no filter. She just goes for it. I love it. She was also 100% correct to call it Larsa and Lisa for always bringing their guys when it's supposed to be girls' night. So Kiki, my question, why are you still friends with Larsa? Like I said before, Larsa doesn't like Black women. She uses them as accessories. She discarded you once she and Lisa were back friends. So last season, when Larsa and Lisa were on the outs over that dumb stuff about you have a mortgage and this, that, and whatever the stuff, she's living in an influencer condo, like all that stuff. That's when Larsa and Kiki got close because Larsa didn't have any allies. But the moment Larsa and Lisa became back friends, because as we know now, they're thick as thieves, partying to 4 a.m. in the club at Art Basel and everything else, now all of a sudden she has no time for Kiki. She discarded her. She also discarded Kiki once she started dating Michael Jordan's son. And I get it. When you get into relationships, you sort of, have to prioritize your time a little bit differently, but you should also still have time for your friends. And the thing is, Larsa does have time for her friends, the friends that she chooses to make time for. And it's not you, Kiki. She dismisses you and she doesn't respect you. So you should just kick her to the curb. Don't try to beg Larsa to be your friend, beg Larsa to hang out with you, beg Larsa to call you or text you. Who the hell is Larsa? Kiki, you are way more interesting than Larsa's pinky toe, okay? Don't think you need to beg Larsa to be your friend because you really, really don't, girl. You really, really don't. Adam says, Larsa, Lisa, and Kiki can all go if you ask me. Oh, that's funny. All right, you guys. There you have it. That is my thoughts and recap on everything. I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up. But if not, I'll take some candy canes and questions for as long as I can because I am feeling a little bit under the weather. So I will do my best.